Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 114 of the Think Big podcast. We are on the last day of the year. It's the last day of 2024, December 31st, 2024. It's been a freaking honor, Sam. Dude, I can't believe we made it through not just 1 year, but 2 years consecutively without missing a single episode. And we are here not just for the last episode of the year, but literally the last day of the year. So
Oh,
that's just unbelievable. I mean, I'm pretty hyped about this. I'm excited about today's topic. We're going to be talking about the mistakes to avoid in 2025 because it's starting tomorrow. And I'm sure you've been getting this a lot. People have been reaching out and DMing you about how to set goals, how to be successful in 2025. Sam, what should I do? What sort of business should I be in? What marketing campaign should I focus on? Like, I mean, just the questions are out there, which I love because it means people are wanting to get better. And so I think we should make today all about basically what are the things they need to expect? How do they need to prepare? And how do we make 2025 the best year yet? Like, let's demolish all of 2024's accomplishments in 2025. So, you ready for this, man?
I'm fucking stoked, bro. Let's do it.
Freaking
I'm
love it.
excited. 100%, man. I think, a lot of people have been 100%. I've been getting a lot of people in my DMs asking about a lot of stuff and all of it's forward pacing in 2025. Everyone's setting financial goals. They're setting revenue goals. They're setting real estate aspirations. They're setting so many things. And then here's the interesting thing, bro. What I'm noticing a lot of. No one so far has come to me. Maybe one or two people, and it's funny. The one or two people who have come to me with the right approach are the ones who I know religiously watch Think Big. Everyone else, they're coming to me with a lot of motivation and hype, and I literally had someone DM me today saying, "Hey, I want to do this thing, and then this thing, and then this thing, and then this thing." And it's like all these goals. They have like 19 different goals for 2025, and they want my take on how to accomplish all of it. And I'm like, I literally told him, I was like, come to Think Big tonight and I'll tell you exactly how to accomplish all of it. And but you're not, I didn't tell them they're not going to like the answer. But dude, I'm excited. So let's do this. 2024, right? Guys, put it out of your head. I'm like, it's the last day, right? Put it out of your head. To me, 2024 ended 3 months ago. Like that was legitimately it. I think everyone who crushes every year starts planning for the next year minimum 90 days before the year's out. I remember one of my mentors who I just admire through the roof in terms of this man's output is Pace Morby. And I remember seeing this, he put up this story or something a long time ago, and it was crazy. He and his executive team that manages his media and his the creative process, not creative financing, but like social media, marketing, all that fun stuff, right? All the millions of trainings that he does. And he basically like showed like this little quick pan of his camera and the team and this, that, and the other. And then you know how when someone posts a story and like you kind of pause at the right moment to kind of take a peek at what they're doing?
Yep.
I
Touch the
did that.
whiteboard.
Yeah. And here's what's effing crazy. They were planning trainings. And this was, mind you, like the beginning of this year, like January, February of 2024, they were planning the trainings they were going to be running and the content that Pace was going to be doing Q4 of 2025. More than a year out, literally almost 2 years out. And that's what it takes. And this is what I start to realize, man. And I think you and I, as we've grown, we've noticed this trend and we've kind of held each other accountable to this. And it's that, guys, if you want to set big ass goals, totally possible. They don't happen in short time frames.
Nope.
We are at a point now between the two of us, Marlon and I, every time we talk about our goals, guys, there's not a single damn goal that we talk about that's the same day, the same week, the same month, the same quarter. Like maybe at the very least, it's the same quarter. Everything that we talk about, we're talking about it's going to take minimum. Like to us, a short-term result is a year long. That's probably the shortest. That's it. That is absolutely it. And so when you want to start prepping for 2025, I know we're probably going to do an episode in January. One of our favorite episodes to do. It's quarter for the quarter and show people how to set goals and how to reverse engineer their marketing and do all this stuff. And everyone loves quarter for the quarter. And I do need you guys to think about things this analytically. The reality is greatness isn't accomplished in a quarter.
Nope.
Greatness is accomplished over not even a year. Hell, Think Big is 114 weeks in, and I still don't think we've hit our stride yet. I think we're coming up on it and we're figuring things out, but there's been a lot of change. The one change that hasn't happened is that we just haven't freaking fallen off. And so I want today to be a really cool discussion because I think Marlon and I over the last 2 years, Marlon, how long have you and I know each other? What, 2.5, 3 years now?
I would say 2.5, 3 years, just about. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say about 3 years. Literally almost because you and I met when I was like 3 months into the game. Yep, 100. So it's about 3 years in that we've known each other. And we've had this podcast for over 2 years now, which is crazy. Guys, do you think our businesses have changed? Hell yeah. Do you think we've changed as human beings? Hell yeah. In that time, Marlon has done so much self-development. He's a totally different person. All the same core values still there. Completely different human being in all the best ways. For me, I've dropped almost 200 grand in that time in just coaching and masterminding and mentorship to take my businesses to the next level. And here's what's crazy. Over the last 2 years, we've showed up consistently every single week. We've never missed once. And the purpose isn't even for the social media growth. There's been times where Marlon and I, we've literally chatted to a room of one person.
Yep.
For an hour and a half, and we had the best time doing it. And the reality is this, I want everyone, I'm such a huge advocate of this. We're going to be talking a lot about focus today, but I love people having, and we can talk about this, will probably just be our next segment, is a consistency vehicle. I do think you need one thing in your life, at least one thing in your life that trains you, rain or shine, good day, bad day, jump out of a plane, stay at home. It doesn't freaking matter. No matter what else you got going on in life, you have one vehicle that you consistently show up for no matter what. And I firmly believe this, guys. And I'll be very real with you here. My entire life, not my entire life, my entire adult life, right? When I was in college, graduated summa cum laude in my undergrad degree, which literally means I basically never got anything less than an A for 4 years straight in university. Then I went and got a master's degree, graduated summa cum laude there again. And then I was a high performer in my previous industry. And I was a high performer in all the things that I did. I was a president of a fraternity. I was like your typical high performer. But here's the interesting thing, guys. I got through all of it on talent and very little of it on consistent work ethic. And there's parts and seasons in your life where you will skate by just by being the most talented person in the room. And the problem with being the most talented person in the room is that when shit gets hard, you tend to fall off. And so for the cool thing for me is over the last 3 years, business growth has been attached to literally no talent at all. All of my businesses, me becoming a millionaire, has only been attached to one thing, and that is just relentlessly showing the hell up. That is it. I look at guys like Pace Morby. I don't think anyone would disagree that dude is probably one of the most talented individuals in real estate. I think it's safe to say that. I also think there's not many people that can match his work ethic at all on planet Earth. And if you actually look at his success, and Marlon and I have a very close relationship with Pace one-on-one, we talk to him all the time. And so we get to see a lot of the inner workings behind the scenes that you may not be able to see on social media. And there's one consistent thing that Marlon and I always chat about when it comes to him or Alex Hormozi or some of the other greats that we look up to. It's that talent has very little to do with it. And very often, I think there's a lot of tremendously talented people, especially probably even in our chat right now, who are tremendously talented. And you see that in yourself. And you see around the people around you, in your friend group, your family, the people that you're currently hanging around with, hell, even the people in the communities that you're in real estate mentorships. You may think that you have more potential than they do, and you may be right. But here's the thing. You will always lose to the guy who just shows up every goddamn week.
Yep.
That is it. And it's really, really freaking interesting. I'm going to be very open here. I just want to have a very transparent discussion with you guys. Over the last 3 years, if I were to break those down into cycles, right? Because I got started in entrepreneurship 3 years ago. Year 1, year 2, year 3. Year one all the way to year 2, about year 2.5. I I was envious of people who I thought were not nearly as skilled as me, not nearly as talented as me. I'm like, that guy's an idiot. How the hell is he making so much money? How the hell is he doing all these deals? What's the difference here? I'm so much more capable and I have way more potential, this, that, and the other. And then it finally hit me that the people who talk and admire their own talent so much, they're the ones who just don't get on the starting line. And they're always going to lose to the guy who's got a quarter of the talent they do, but they just get on the starting line no matter what, every damn time. And so a year and a half ago, I started getting into just general portfolio business, which means growing other businesses that are not real estate specific. And here's the interesting thing. All of it, Marlon knows this. I'm very private about all the things I do there. And the reason why is because I don't want any external factors. I don't want anyone, I don't want to cheat it. I don't want to push it on social media and then say, hey, go support all these things that I'm doing because blah, 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 and have them artificially grow. Because I knew that the number one trait that I needed to work on in 2024, just consistency and focus. That's it. And interestingly enough, by locking myself into a room for the better part of a year, not using social media, not doing all the other stuff that usually would rely on my talent, but instead just sitting at the computer and working and doing the shit that needs to get done, businesses have taken off. I've now taken my second business to 7 figures. And what's cool is that business will probably make an 8-figure exit on in the next 2 years. Really interesting stuff that happens when you just turn off the talent idea that you're more talented, that you're more skilled, that you have more innate God-given potential, this, that, and the other. And I think we all do. I look at Marlon. I think Marlon's one of the most talented human beings I've ever met. It's why he's one of my best friends. But I don't want him to even think about his own potential and talent. I don't want him to think about it as this innate skill set that he just magically has, because then he starts becoming complacent and then he loses his work ethic. Guys, you know what pisses me off about Marlon? I've been all over the country with this man. We've spoken on stages. We travel a lot together. And what pisses me off about Marlon Johnson is that whenever he and I are in an Airbnb together, I'll be sleeping. And at 5 a.m., I start hearing him shouting affirmations and it wakes me up. And then here's the thing, guys. I'm going to be very real with you. It's not that I hate it. It's not that it's annoying. You know what it is? It's him reminding me how much he's going to show up for himself that day. And then my lazy ass is just going to go and sleep in bed and be like, I'm just going to wake up when I wake up and I'm going to get through the day. But by the time I wake up, you know what's happened? Marlon's run 5 miles. Marlon's run 5 miles. He's prayed. He's done his affirmations. He's centered for the day. And so by the time I wake up, he's already had a 4-hour head start on me. This is why he's good. It actually has very little to do with the talent. We all know he's talented. It has very little to do with that. And then so I look at Marlon, you know this, one of the most important people that I've had as a guiding force in my life is a man by the name of Logan Manzanares, the first person who put me into podcasting with the Origin Story podcast. Logan Manzanares is the most consistent human being I've ever met. Like, no one can compare to that man and what he's done and how consistently he shows up. And the most beautiful thing that I've learned from Logan as a man is simply this: consistency is not sexy. No one gives you a reward for it. There is no gratification that comes from being consistent online on social media. There's like very often when you're in the thick of it, no one is singing your praises. People actually stop paying attention because they're like, oh, another thing big. Cool. Oh, another gratitude post. Cool. Gratitude post again this morning. People will actually zone out seeing it because you've been doing it so much. During the course of consistency, no one gives a shit. So you don't get the external validation that we all very often feel like we need. But you know what happens? When you're 2 years in, when you've finished the race across America, everyone shows up. And here's what's kind of fucked, bro. Everyone hits you with this stupid statement. Oh, man, I wish I could do that. Oh, man. That's so good. It's amazing that you accomplished that. Wow. That's so cool. I wish I had the time. Man, I wish I could pick up and get into an RV and do all that. Man, I wish I could just stay at home and work on business like Sam all day. Man, I wish. And here's the interesting thing. All those people had the same time, the exact same 24 hours. They all had the exact same access to resources that I did, that Marlon did. They just don't keep up. That is it. And so I want today's discussion to be very real about the fact that consistency is not sexy. It is not at all. There's no flowers. I'm gonna, it was funny. I'm gonna not cuss, but I'll try not to cuss. But Cat Williams has I love Cat Williams. And then in one of his stand-ups, he talked about that time he got shot. He got shot outside of a club. And he was like, man, rap videos lie. They make it sound like it's sexy to get shot, like you were a banger. And he's like, I got shot, and like the heavens didn't open up, women didn't pour down, like there wasn't raining women, any of that stuff. And the reality is, it's true, guys. Building a business is the exact same way. It's just showing the hell up. And one thing I admire about people like Logan Manzanares, like Alex Hormozi, like Pace Morby, like Marlon Johnson, is they understand fundamentally that it all happened when no one is looking. That's it. That's fundamentally it. All right, Marlon, I need you to go because I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love what you're saying, and I could see just by looking at the chat that people are agreeing with what's going on, because in 2025, the mistake that people are going to make is what you're mentioning. We look at the highlight reels on social media, and I heard Alex say this actually in one of his most recent videos. I think he dropped it a week or two ago, and he mentioned that success is something of a marathon. And a lot of people get it in their minds that it's a marathon that they watch on Instagram, where inside a 60-second clip, you can see the start, middle, and end. And you get this feeling that a marathon is just 26.2 miles. It's the start and finish. It's so easy. I can comprehend it intellectually, but the reality of running a marathon is so drastically different than the mental understanding of running a marathon. The reality of running a marathon, and you're looking at someone who's run many, many marathons this year. I would say I probably ran over 100 miles worth of marathons this year, is from mile 1 to mile 2 to mile 3, all the way until the end, is a lot of huffing and puffing. It's a lot of mental battle with yourself to stay in the game. It's a lot of tricks you have to play on yourself to remain consistent, to keep showing up, to push through the pressure, to push through the stress. And in 2025, understand that the goals you all are setting are Arnolfo, Zach, EJ, the goals you guys are setting, they are going to stress you out. You are going to doubt yourself. That's a normal part of the course. That's par for the course. That's not unusual. So if you ever come to us and you're like, look, I've been doubting, is this going to work? I don't know if this is the right strategy. I don't know if this is the right plan. I'm going to say, great, you're in entrepreneurship. You've set a good goal if you're even partially worried about how are you going to make it happen. If you're like, man, I have not interacted with another human being for 4 weeks, for 3 months. Awesome. That's called the lonely chapter. I know exactly where you are in the book. Right? Like, you're in your lonely chapter. Expect and anticipate the loneliness. Sam, you and I were talking about this last week, that people see us online. They see us on the Think Big podcast, and they are convinced that you and I hang out every weekend, that we are just like constantly meeting up. When's the last time you and I saw each other? What month was it in 2024 that you and I were actually physically together?
The last time we were physically together was February 1st, 2024.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Guys, like, Sam's one of my best friends, and I have not seen him in almost an entire year now, physically. So there are going to be lonely chapters as you embark on this process, as you guys go into 2025 and you set these goals. And don't try to stop the loneliness from happening. Embrace it. Recognize that that's the season of your growth. That's where you start to become one with yourself. That's where you actually start to learn what your skill sets are, what your power is, and how to overcome that season. There's strength in that season. There is a blessing in that season if you stay in it. But if you try to run out of it, you're going to miss out on your gift. Something that I want people to remember: failure and mistakes are inevitable. They are going to happen. Please stop trying to avoid them. It's so interesting how many people, I was having a conversation, and Arnolfo, I'm going to call you out on this because I know he's watching right now. And we had a conversation yesterday where he's been working on his plans. He's working on getting some deals. And he got to the stage where cold calling used to scare him. And he finally started taking action. He's been ripping the phones. He's been doing that. And I said, great, but like, why haven't we closed the deal yet? What's going on there? And he said, well, I'm not really following up. And when we dove into it, it was like, well, what's happening is you're afraid of losing the opportunity that you generated. See, most people hold themselves back and are going to hold themselves back in 2025 because they're afraid of losing the opportunity that they took step one, they took step two, they took step three. They're now standing on the third level. They have to get to level 10 in order to complete the game. But now they're afraid of losing the progress they made up until 1, 2, and 3. The reality is you have to be willing to trade in everything that you gather along the way, right? Like if you want to get to that point of $1 million, you have to be willing to pay $999,000 in exchange for that million. You have to be willing to give up everything that you accumulate along the way. You cannot operate from this place of, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to lose. I don't want to experience failure. It's inevitable. Accept it. Accept it as a reality. It's inevitable. Sam, how often would you say you go through and you guys find what you call a mistake or a way to improve? Because really also improvement is a form of identifying a mistake or identifying a failure in the system.
So I want to really quick before I answer that, I want to hit on this. Are we going to ignore that Sam is wearing a velvet sweater? It's actually a Snuggie. Okay, you need to get it together. It's not a velvet sweater. I'm not that cheap. Okay.
Dude, you should get it in your head, by the way. You should get the Hugh Hefner Snuggie.
The robes?
Yeah, bro.
Dude, I would love that. 100%. I was about to say something so inappropriate. Oh my God. Got to remember that we're live. Okay. So I want to hit on this because you mentioned something really interesting and you brought up Arnulfo and the fact that he was doing stuff and then running and then doing some action and then not following through in full commitment, right? I want to read this DM. I'll paraphrase it. I had someone who watches Think Big every single week. They came to me and they DM me and they said, "Hey Sam, I've been in the game for 2 years." Okay, 2 years, a long time, almost as much as me, almost as much as Marlon. And they are finally looking into getting business funding because they want to take their business seriously. And this person, mind you, has shown up to every single signature masterclass I've done. Like from the get-go, they've been to all of them. And if you guys don't know what that means they have as much knowledge, if not better knowledge, than any $25,000, $30,000 mentorship there is in the industry. Because my goal when I do those masterclasses is to put those guys lovingly, respectfully, I'm like, you guys suck. I'm going to do better than you guys, and I'm going to give it away for free. And this person 2 years in says, hey, like I'm having this mindset issue. I'm nervous about getting funding. And they laid out their marketing plan. Their marketing plan is a very niche plan, which is very low cost. And then I had to hit them with this because I think this applies to a lot of people here. And this is going to apply to a lot of people in 2025, especially when it comes down to not what you mentioned earlier, or being afraid to make the mistake or just holding off because they want it to be perfect, right? And it's that if you want to get into this business and if you want it to be a business, here's the one thing that I've learned. And I'm a perfectionist. I am like tried and true perfectionist. It's that done is better than perfect.
Yep.
All day, every day, and twice on Sundays. And 2, don't kid yourself if you're not afraid to, if you're not willing to invest in the business, in yourself, in the growth. And this is one thing I've realized. It's that people date the idea of being entrepreneurs. And I called this person out and I'm like, dude, you've been dating the idea of being an entrepreneur for 2 goddamn years and you effectively have nothing to show for it. And like, I'm not condescending, I'm not talking down to you. And I don't mean this to be mean, but I think you need to hear this because this person DMs me every week all about real estate stuff and about entrepreneurship and about growing their businesses, especially growing and scaling their wholesale. How much longer are you going to date the goddamn business? And I think a lot of people who watch us, right? I'm going to call it someone who I think is fantastic. Someone that we've talked to for a very long time. And that's Joel. Joel came on the podcast and Joel, we did a one-on-one with Joel. And our big thing with Joel is like, bro, you're not focused. You're trying to do all the things. You are distracted. You are undisciplined because you're trying to do everything. And that's causing you to not have growth. And Joel came to us maybe about a month ago on the podcast. And this is the exact same spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then it really kind of answered something for me. And I called Joel out again that day. And I'm doing this. And if he sees this, Joel, we love you. We only do this out of love. The lack of discipline and the lack of commitment is the issue. It's not a lack of skill set. Trust me, skill sets are attained by just doing an activity for a long enough period of time. Trust me, skill sets, a lot of times we look at Pace, we're like, oh my God, Pace is a great closer. Oh my God, Alex is this amazing business scaler. Oh my God, Kent Clothier is like the greatest CEO of all time. There's something different. And I don't think that's the case at all. I just think they've got more reps in than anyone else. And a lot of us are just afraid to start getting the goddamn reps in. And so for anyone who's dating the idea of being an entrepreneur, I'm going to be real with you, because I'm the guy who talks about scaling. Okay. I love scaling. It's what makes me tick. I don't like talking about newbie stuff just because it's just not something I'm good at talking about. Scaling. I think everybody here wants to have a 7-figure business minimum. You wouldn't be following us if you wanted to only be at 100 grand a year. Okay. I know you all want to do minimum $1 million. A lot of you guys want to do more. I really, really have to say this. That shit's not easy. It's simple. It's not easy. And one thing is just like, I've seen this. If you are nervous about the investments it takes to grow the business, to hire someone, to build an SOP, to put up a job posting, to invest in a marketing channel, to invest in mentorship, to invest in whatever the hell it takes, whatever the risk is, if you allow that to stop you from doing it, the nervousness, the anxiety, and it stops you from just doing the thing and committing to it, you do it one time, guess what? It becomes harder for you to come back to it. It becomes harder for you to bounce back from that. You do it second time, oh man, $5,000. That's what I need for enter coaching product. But it's the right coaching product. It's a thing that you need. It's a thing that your business needs right now. And you shy away from it because that's a lot of money. And I never spent that much money before. Cool. That's another 3 months that goes by where you are not on the right track to hit 7 figures. Just know that. Every time you say no to something your business needs, you're just elongating how long it's going to take for your business to get there. And it's not just extending the timeline. It's lessening the likelihood that you ever get there in the first place. I'm at a point now where you guys know I'm not doing single family real estate anymore. I just think it's just not, I don't get the economy of scale that I need there. And so I'm all in on self-storage and I'm loving it. Before I knew anything about self-storage, truly, I found a mentor who I believe in, who I think is the real deal, and they are. I literally told them, I'm like, hey, do you have a coaching program? They said no. I'm like, cool, start one. I will be your first customer. And the second that they DM me, they're like, hey, man, we're going to roll something out. Cool. I didn't want to know details. I didn't want to know when we start. I didn't want to know shit. I'm like, how much money do I need to send you, and send me your ACH? Because I am not going to wait. Because at this point, guys, Marlon and I, whenever we chat about these things, we're always kind of shocked at the idea that we wished we would have invested sooner to learn the lesson sooner. Like, I've invested in bad mentorships, guys, bad masterminds. I've invested in the programs where I know more than the people that run it. I just fell for the marketing or wanted to test it out, things like that. And I'm okay with losing the $5,000. I'm not okay with losing 3 months of my life, not having an answer and not having my businesses grow as much as I want them to. And so I think it's really kind of interesting, man. It's becoming so, okay, fail fast, quickly. I don't think that the goal is to fail. I very much like, I don't think the goal is to fail, but I get it. I think the goal is to just learn the goddamn answer. Get the lesson as soon as you possibly can, because you need it. Your business needs it. I think we look at everything that we've done. I think everyone who's been in the game for a couple of years, okay, fail forward. Yeah, fail forward 100%. I wish that I would have expedited learning lessons sooner rather than taking so long to learn them. Marlon, Has there ever been a lesson in your life where you're like, man, I'm glad it took me 9 months to learn that girl was toxic as shit?
No, the reality is what ends up happening is when you finally do learn the lesson, there's always this moment of revelation that all the waiting you did up until that point didn't actually amount to anything valuable for the lesson to be learned. And you recognize, damn, I could have learned that lesson literally 7 months ago when it first popped up as an opportunity. And if I don't learn it right away, you are going to you will repeat the same lessons over and over. You will repeat the same mistakes over and over, the same problems over and over until you eventually overcome them. So, Sam, there's something you said that I want to come back to, which is you said you're willing to invest in what your business needs. And this is something that I think gets missed is a lot of people are constantly trying to only do what they want to do and they want to only give the business what they want to give, and it doesn't change the fact that the business needs what the business needs. And I think about it like raising a kid. And here's the reality. We all just want to play with the kid and just toss them up and down at the park and, enjoy the fun stuff. But the reality is if you're a parent, you also need to change the diapers. You also need to feed them. You also need to wake up in the middle of the night when they're sick and go pull snot out of their nose. And all of those things are required if you want to raise a happy, healthy child. Your business requires certain things of you in this infancy phase that if you are going to get it to the place of maturity where it's producing 7 and 8 figures and it's giving you the financial freedom and it's giving you the ability to walk away from it, you have to give it currently what it needs, not just what you want to give it. And so you have to recognize what is the actual cost of building a business. And I love what Sam is saying, that building a business, it's not easy. Will it eventually get easier? No. What's going to happen is you're going to get better. See, when you get better, it seems like things are easier. When I watch Steph Curry make shots on the court, it seems like, damn, basketball is so easy. I should go be an NBA player, right? Because he makes it look so easy. That's the trick. I don't want to even call it a trick. That's the illusion of a true professional, right? The expert makes it seem as if anybody can do it, but we don't see all the hours, the years, the decades of repetition, of showing up consistently and not being praised for it. What I've been enjoying about this time of year is I've been on my social media a little bit. I was on Instagram and I was watching a streamer. His name, I think it's Kai, Kai. He's a streamer on Twitch, I guess. I think he's the most famous streamer in the world. I've never actually watched his actual, right? Like, have you ever watched his actual? I've never actually watched his actual stream.
I've never seen his stream. I'm not big into streamers, but dude, Kai Cenat is freaking impressive with what he does.
Dude.
But continue, as I know where you're going with this.
Well, you know what? You're absolutely right. He's impressive. I mean, the names that he's had on his stream, I mean, he's had Kevin Hart, John Cena, Chris Brown. I think he even had Cristiano Ronaldo there. I could be wrong, but I've just seen so many people and him together, and I'm like, this kid is absolutely unstoppable. And so on Instagram today, I saw a reel where he was talking to his audience and he said, you know what, guys, a lot of you message me and you're in the chat saying you want to blog and you want to vlog and you want to create content and you want to go out and do this. And he says, and I want you to go out and do this, but could I be honest with you and let you know what it took to get to this point? It takes showing up every single day. It takes setting a plan and remaining consistent and continuing to do the work even when nobody's watching. He's like, you guys are watching me now, but you weren't there in the beginning when no one was there. And I was still showing up with the same level of enthusiasm. I was still showing up with the same discipline, the same drive that you guys see today. Like, this was all there in the beginning and it had to be honed over time. And now that we're 7 years in the game, you're all here with me. But you got to understand, I was doing this from day one. Guys, in 2025, you might not get a single applaud. There might not be anybody to clap for you. There's going to be 0 attaboys. And if you are truly committed, you're going to go through even without.
Dude, oh my God. I want to follow that because, okay, so guys, between 2023 and like the first month of 2024, a lot of people here, let me know. Say yes in the chat if you guys want to speak on stages, if that's like a big thing for you, that's an aspiration that you have. Let me know if that's something you guys want to do. So I'd imagine that for a lot of people, they want to share their message. They want to speak on stages. They want to be able to really kind of connect with other people and give them value. Here is a very interesting thing. Someone's like, no, absolutely not. I think that at the end of the day, I know if you're a visionary, you 100% want to speak on stages. Here's a very interesting discussion I had one-on-one with Pace Morby. And he told me this really, and this was in the beginning of my journey of getting to get on stages. And so in 2023, I spoke on about 32 or 33 stages, physical stages. Like I flew somewhere, like stood on stage and talked in front of a bunch of people. So not even podcast, not virtual, like physical stages. It's a lot of stages in a year. And before I did that, and I'm telling you guys right now, it's brutal. It is brutal. Marlon, you and I have done 1-2 week kind of travel sprees together where we both spoken on stages, like 4 or 5 stages back to back to back to back. Guys, it's not as sexy as people think it is. It's very difficult and it's expensive. It's freaking expensive to keep. It's about like $1,500 to $2,000 per trip, depending on like the intensity of it, depending on if it's a 2-3 day thing, whatever it is. And here's one thing that Pace told me. He said, everyone wants what I have. And we all know what he has because he's the best in the game right now. And everyone thinks that I showed up. I appeared. I got started 4 years ago. It's like 4.5 years ago when he started the community. And he says, no one realizes that 4.5 years ago, that's not when I showed up. I showed up 6 years ago. And that's when I was speaking on stages to 15 people. And no one remembered my name at the end of it. And he said, Sam, if you want to crush it and you want to get on big stages, right? The big stages with a mic and the production and there's a big ass screen behind you and they hype you up and there's entry music and all that kind of stuff. And you want to speak in front of 500 people. You know what it takes to get there? You got to speak on 30 stages to 12 people where no one remembers your name. You will fly across the country to go speak to 10 people, 15 people, 30 people who are half interested in you. And you might, at the end of it, get 4 Instagram follows. That's the reality. And it's still going to cost you the $1,500. But guess what happens after you've done that? It's weird how the universe rewards consistency. That's when you start getting the attention of some of the people throwing the biggest events out there. And I just said no to my biggest event ever recently. And it would have been about 500, between 450 to 500 paid tickets. And I saw the price tag on tickets. They were not cheap. Up to 500 people who've paid to be there, and they wanted me to be on stage for about like 45 minutes to an hour. Like a massive bit. And that, guys, at a big event like that, a 45-minute slot is a big slot. That's like a prime time keynote kind of slot. And I had to say no to it because of focus. And here's the interesting thing, and I'm going to tailor this all back to 2025. Why the hell would I go speak on 30 plus stages and then say no to the biggest one so far? Because in the season that I'm in, the growth that I am requiring of myself requires me to say no. And focus is the biggest thing. For Marlon in 2025, I believe your goal this year is going to be the word focus, right? It's going to be your thing.
Yep.
And this year, 2024, focus was my thing. I was in the theme of focus this year. And I've been rewarded with so much evidence that I've not spoken on the stage in 9 months. Guys, my net worth has increased by like 20 times in that, 20x in that time. My businesses have tremendously gone through the roof. It's actually insane what's happened. And you know what happened? Not a single stage was needed. Not a single like Instagram, big push, social media, content spree, not needed, right? And I'm not speaking to everyone else. I'm speaking about my journey in the season that I'm in right now. And for me to hit my goals, focus to me means saying no to even the things that I put in 30 trips for. I spoke on 32, 33 stages to now say no to a stage with 500 paid people on it. That's kind of crazy. It's kind of a crazy thing. Here's the fun fact, guys. It's the absolute right thing to do if I want to grow. And a lot of people don't realize that the things that you're going to have to say no to in 2025 for you to hit your milestones in your business and in your personal life and all the things, very often they're the sexiest things out there. And as visionaries, bro, there's not much sexier than like speaking on stage and loving on the crowd and them, applauding you at the end and loving on you during the meet and greet. That the filling of the cup is so strong there, right? But fun fact, stage doesn't grow your business. It's almost impossible to like monetize off a stage unless you're getting paid to be there because it's someone else's stage. You're not going to go and sell your stuff over there. That'd be disrespectful, right? And if you're like me and you want to build a brand based on value, not selling, then you're not going to. Cool. I have to say no to something that like I want to do. But guess what? I know that every freaking time that I say no to something big and it's sexy, I say no to something big and sexy and fun and that everyone else would say yes to, I'm like, I actually get rewarded internally because I'm like, cool. Because whoever takes that ticket, I'm like, you're distracted. Your goals are going to fall apart. 6 months later, your businesses are going to be in like they're going to be in the gutter because you just didn't have the discipline to say yes or to say no.
Mhm.
And here's what's cool, guys. When you say no to distractions, you were saying yes to your goals. And it took me a very, very, very long time to understand that.
And something to add to that, you're gonna be saying no a lot more than you think. You think you said no once and that no was good enough. And the reality is that I like Wayne, he mentioned the woman in the red dress because we talk about the woman in the red dress all the time as a metaphor. If you guys have seen the movie The Matrix, there's a scene where Neo is following Morpheus through the Matrix, and a beautiful woman walks by in a red dress, and Neo turns his head to look at that woman. And Morpheus is still talking to him. He says, "Are you paying attention to me, or are you looking at that woman in the red dress?" And when Neo turns to look back to Morpheus, this is an agent, and Neo gets shot. And so the reality is that woman in the red dress, she doesn't just come by once. In the movies, she only walks by one time. In life, she keeps knocking. She's going to show up today. You're going to say no to her, and she's going to show up tomorrow. And the reality is, when she shows up tomorrow, her hair is going to be done. She's got a new red dress. It looks even better. And every time she gets more and more attractive. 2025, you are going to be saying no so much more than you say yes. After you give your first yes, it's the only yes you are going to give. And you're going to keep giving it back to the same focus, to the same one goal. And Sam, I don't know about you. I've been really getting down on this, zeroing in on not having multiple goals, but having one goal, not having 20 or 30 or 40 different goals, which is not me saying I don't want you guys to sit down and think about all the different areas of your life that you want to see improvement, all the different things that you want. Maybe you want a car, maybe you want a dog, maybe you want a relationship. I'm not saying not to have those desires. In fact, I encourage you to write those desires down. But what I also encourage you to do is to take an audit and look at all the goals you have written out and see what can be consolidated. See what you can consolidate and consolidate until you can no longer consolidate the goals. And now, when you're looking at this list of maybe 10 things, I want you to actually ask yourself, out of these 10, which one of these, if I accomplish, would make the other nine easier or totally irrelevant? I don't even need to do it anymore, because that's your North Star. And that's where you want to focus all of your attention. And what often happens is we're not spending all of our attention and energy on the most important, and we're getting burnt out and drained on the less important things, thinking that your willpower is on will call. It's not. Your willpower runs out every single day. You're limited. You live in a human body. You're limited in your capacity, but you've got to focus on one thing. I'm going to say, why not make it the most important thing that you focus on? In a world where you have free agency to do whatever you want, why would you focus on the less important task? It doesn't make any logical sense to me. Maybe if you have an answer, let me know. If you think you've got a logical answer to that question on why you choose to focus on the less important thing, the only thing I've been able to come up with is you don't understand, you don't know how to prioritize. You just actually don't know how to sit down and look at what matters most.
Dude, I want to hit this because your point is very similar to Birdie's question right here. Basically, can you touch on things that you're really good at? So, right? The danger point as you get better in entrepreneurship is that you get more skilled, you become better at multiple things, and then it's not just one woman in the red dress. Sometimes she's going to knock on the door and she's going to have a friend who's just as hot as she is. And that's the problem, is you're going to say to multiple women in the red dress at the exact same time. Because as you get better, the opportunities get better and more of them just magically show up. And it's insane how many opportunities, like compared to a year ago, to even 6 months ago, how many opportunities I'm being pitched now. And it's weird because they make a lot of money and I have to keep saying no to them. And here's the key. So for Marlon's point and Birdie's point, you're going to have to understand that you can have multiple goals, right? You want to have a better relationship with your spouse, your partner. You want to get into the best shape of your life. You want to have an 8-pack. You want to do all, and you want to have $1 million business, and you want to do all the things. Cool. One, it is great to chase all these things. It is foolish to trick yourself and delude yourself into thinking you can have it all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the reality. We're like, well, Sam, billionaires have it. Yeah, well, billionaires also have $1 billion freaking dollars. And trust me, it makes life a lot easier when everything is just a paycheck away. It's just a wire away. For most of us who are still in our building phase, and I would argue if you're here, you're still in a building phase. You may just not realize it yet. It's going to require you to pick one thing. And, I think a lot of the times we have to understand that you can't do everything. You don't have enough time and enough attention to do all the things. So, what you need to do, Birdie, specifically, I'm speaking to you here, is in your repertoire of skill sets, I want you to ask yourself, here's the repertoire of skill sets that I have, right? The list of things that I'm really freaking good at. And then here's the goal on this side, okay, across the way. I want you to really think about this and ask yourself which of those innate skill sets, which of those opportunity vehicles gives you not the most, and I'm real here, not the most emotional fulfillment or filling of your cup, because a lot of times the things like that have zero leverage. You might be good at them. They may be amazing. You can probably keep it up all day, every day for the rest of your life. But if they have no leverage, you're not going to move forward towards your goals. And a lot of you need to understand that, the whole idea of having your cake and eating it too, there's a reason why it's like an ironic phrase. It's because you can't, especially right now. So what I want you to do is understand and isolate the one thing. And you might be like, well, Sam, so-and-so says do everything. And I'm like, cool. So-and-so probably also is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And they can do everything because they can drop $250,000 on a CEO salary. Can you? If the answer is no, cool. Pick one thing. And here's the reality. Here's my hypothesis. I'm not like, I'm going to figure this out myself over the next year. My hypothesis is this: all of the other stuff that you want in your life very often will innately happen as a byproduct or a side effect or a result. Those things will magically become fulfilled by not chasing each one of them, by focusing on the one thing. You focus on the one thing, and you go from being worth $0 to being worth 5 million, and you have having 5 million come into your life. Guys, it's amazing what can happen when it solves all of your other problems. So divorce, right? We have the highest divorce rate out of any country on earth. You guys know the number one factor that causes divorce in America? It's like responsible for over 50% of the divorce. It's financial. It's just financial. And it's not even like, oh, we don't love each other anymore. It's none of that stuff. It's stressors. People can't afford bills. Husband's job gets cut, or they want to go and move into a bigger home, and then all the bills start racking up and inflation's going through the roof, and you're just not making enough money. And so here's the thing. You guys still love each other, but now you're stressed. And every time a bill doesn't get paid, or a bill is past due, or you see an envelope that lands in your mailbox and it says past due notice, stress, 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 stress. And what's really interesting, guys, is the number one reason for the breaking of a union is financial. And a lot of us have like goals of, I want to have a better relationship with my partner. I want to be an amazing duo. I want to have an amazing family unit. Cool. Do you think you'll be able to show up for your family a lot better if you had zero financial stressors? Probably. You'd be able to show up more potent. You'd be able to show up more fulfilled. You'd be able to show up in a better way for them because you're able to provide and you don't have stress coming into your life with you. And so, Birdie, I'm gonna piggyback on Marlon again on this. And he said something, you have to do an audit of all the skills that you have, the goals that you have, right? Here's the thing. Whenever we look at the goals, and I'm going to even take this one step back, and I'm going to tell this to you specifically, Birdie, because I know you're in like a bunch of different communities, I think. I want you to audit all the goals that you have, and I want you to think very deep and ask yourself, are these my goals, or are these goals that I've just absorbed from someone else because I'm not auditing the influences in my life? And Marlon loves going on like social media cleanses. He's going very hard on social media right now, but there's been times where he's taken like 3-4 months off. And every time he does that, you know what happens? He comes back so much clearer in his goals. And what he ends up realizing, I've done this too, and I haven't gone full scale off social media, but I've taken like big breaks and muted certain people. And here's the really interesting thing. I love a lot of people. I have a lot of love for a lot of my mentors. I've had to mute them. And I've muted them basically indefinitely. Still love them. They text me, I'll text them back. I just don't want to see you on my feed because I understand that if I see you on my feed, the stuff that you're going to say are your goals, your mission, your vision. And a lot of my mentors are also extremely intentional. So they understand how to use social media as a tool to get people to buy into their vision. And being aware of that, I'm like, cool, I'm going to mute you because I know if I see you, if I don't have my guard up, you're going to try to get me into your vision. And you know what ends up happening every time I do that? My vision becomes clearer for myself. Mm-hmm. And what's always ironic is I look back and I'm like, damn, Some of the goals I had 6 months ago were not my goals. They were goals that like I adopted from someone else. And the dangerous part is that they never asked permission. They just slide in there. And that's the most dangerous shit there is because you will burn life force away trying to embark on a mission and a vision that isn't even yours. And that's crazy. So when you do these auditing, all these auditing steps with your skills, your goals, all these things, be very, very vigilant and diligent in asking yourself, are these my goals or someone else's? And if they are someone else's, you have to ask yourself then, it's like, am I giving them permission to be here? And so I want to say this, audit your influences. And I've been going hard on this. A lot of people are like, because Sam, you've dropped almost 200K in mentorships and you're in all the rooms and you're in rooms where people make $50 million a year and blah, 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 blah. Cool. Here's what I've realized, guys. Every time I get into a room, I realize everyone, especially the people who are running the rooms, that room has an intention. And usually the intention is for them to reap the most benefit out of it. And that's okay. It's totally okay. It's the point. I need to understand that so I don't get swayed. And so for a lot of you, I need you guys to go into everything you do in 2025, every conference, every workshop, every virtual event, every stage event, everything you do, and understand that there is an intention in the room. And if you don't understand that, you're the target audience. You're the person who's going to be put into a funnel. And you may not realize it. And every time you do, I swear to you, you're probably going to get taken off your track in life. And then so I look at all my friends and I'm just like, I'm very adamant about this now. I'm very adamant about only having friends who don't believe in FOMO. So I have friends in my life who were like, Sam, let's go to this thing. Let's go to that thing. I'll even buy your ticket. I'll pay for your airfare. I'll do all these things. Let's go hang out. Let's go to this, this workshop, this conference, this 3-day thing. And me being a marketer, I'm like, dude, that entire 3-day event is scientifically designed to not steal, but charge you a ton of money to be there and then also sell you a $30, $40, $50,000 package at the end of it that may not even be your goal. And then I'm like, cool. I look at those friends and you know what I've realized? I actually had to do this exercise recently with this one friend. This one friend is someone who I've been to a lot of events with. I have a very soft spot in my heart for them. We went to an event together almost 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, we were making about the same amount of money. And at the time, we were doing about 20 to 30K per month. We were somewhere around there. And I was in my wholesale business. They were in a separate business. We were at the same event and we were like wide-eyed. And we're like, oh my God, we want to scale. We want to grow this, that, and the other. This person hits me up this past week and they're like, hey, do you want to come to this event? I'm going to pay for your ticket. I'm going to pay for your flight. I'm going to pay for your hotel, all the things. I just want to hang out with you and go to this event. This event's going to be amazing. I said, you do know that they're going to sell something at the end of the event. In the entire event, they're going to literally, like scientifically mess with you so you are ready to be sold. And he said, yeah, okay, cool. And I'm like, are you going to purchase, like, let's just make the decision right now. Are you going to purchase it or not? And they said, I don't know. And that's not the issue. The issue is this. That person, this is 2 years later, told me, well, if I can hit my first $40,000 month, then I'll do it. I was like, oh, 2 years later, and we haven't grown. And the reason why isn't because someone's better than someone else. The reason why is because you show up to all the things. You go to all the stuff. You FOMO into everything. And your business doesn't need that of you. So your business needs you to stay the hell home and focus and say no to everything, including events and saying no to seeing your friends and saying no to even like, it's okay to say no to people. It is absolutely okay. Because every time you say no to a distraction, you were saying yes to your own goals. And that's what people don't freaking realize. And oh my God, that is an amazing.
I literally was just about to put that on the screen.
Holy crap. I always say I'm easily inspired. I love that. Guys, I'm going to be real here. Being easily inspired, straight up, means that you're easily manipulated.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it. It's just it. Marlon is focusing on being a marketer, right? Marlon's going to be an amazing marketer. Marlon, I'm going to be very real with them on this because this is stuff that you and I talk about privately.
Yeah.
And I should be ultra transparent. Marlon is going to speak on some of the biggest stages out there. The stuff he's working on is huge in terms of a social media perspective and so, in terms of all these things. Same thing with me. I can't even announce it publicly, but the stuff that I'm working on, oh my God, everything that I'm going to do is going to be intentional. Every minute of an event will be intentional. There's going to be events where you guys are going to be able to come and hang out with me. I'm telling you right now, the event has an intention. The intention is for you to win, for you to get what you paid for you to do all the things that you want to do. But it's also going to be something that I'm going to receive from. And I hope you guys realize that when you go into one of these rooms and you're easily inspired, it also means you're the target avatar that's easy to get someone to open their wallet. Like, that's just it. And there's a time and a place in your life and in your business that is okay. And that's what you need. You need to, like I said earlier, you need to pay the $5 grand to grow your business. You need the proximity of that workshop or that community or that mastermind or all the things. I wouldn't be here if I didn't drop the almost 200 grand that I've dropped in mentorship. But here's the thing, at a certain point, you have to say, I know what needs to be done. I don't need to know anymore. I just need to shut the hell up and do it. And when you learn that about yourself, you're going to realize, I don't need to drop another 10K here, another 20K here, another 30K here, another 40K here. I don't need all the proximity. I don't need the networking. I don't need that right now. And this is what Marlon and I always say. I like to think that Marlon and I truly, and Marlon, I mean, no offense by this, I like to think that Marlon and I are largely unaware of high-level real estate shit. I think out of like 99% of the people that we know, I think they all know more than us about real estate. But none of them make more, like most of them do not make more money than us in real estate. And it's because they're just information gathering forever. They're proximity gathering forever. It's obscene. And so when you go into 2025, like, it's not just focus. Focus means saying no. And saying no is uncomfortable. Like saying no to the event on social media, when you see 1 million people together loving on each other, and it's the best thing ever, and we're the best, and blah, 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 blah. Great. Good for them. I promise you, while they're there getting distracted, learning about, and this is why, like, I'm at a point right now in my season, full disclaimer, right now, I don't care what other people are doing in their businesses anymore. I don't give a shit. I don't care if you're developing. I don't care if you're lending. I don't care how much money you're making. I don't care what the screenshots look like on social media, because I know it's a vanity metric. I know it's manipulated. I know you're probably not even making that much money. And even if you were, it's okay, because it took you 5 years to get there. I'm cool with where I'm at, because I know what it's going to take to get to the next level. Like, and when you go to these gigantic events, to me, it's like distraction mania. Oh, we're with 1,000 other like-minded individuals, and everyone else has their own thing going on. You think anything good is going to come out of you just talking to 1,000 other people who all are basically kind of manipulating what they're doing in life and how well they're performing? To me, these rooms are literally designed, in my brain, I've convinced myself that they are designed to take you off track. Guys, start saying no. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to travel. We're gonna go and do a private mastermind soon. And I'm adamant that my masterminds need to be like less than freaking 7 people, because that's how we grow. So, dude, okay, you need to talk, because I'm just gonna keep going.
Dude, you know what? I'm enjoying this. We haven't had a Sam Singh like go in hard in weeks, bro. So I'm just sitting here, I'm listening. I was taking some notes while you were talking, and you know, you're spot on with this. The fact that, you know, Corey, you mentioned that you're easily inspired. Here's the thing. If you know that you're easily inspired, I'm going to give you a little bit of a softer touch here. Go ahead and allow yourself to be easily inspired by a single influence that you intentionally choose, and you come back to that influence. Go deep instead of wide, because being easily inspired pulls you wide. Allow yourself to go deep. Stay easily inspired inside of one lane, inside of one vein. I mean, Sam, you did this last year, which I'm so impressed about. When I say last year, I'm talking 2024. You allowed yourself to be easily inspired by one individual, Alex Hormozi. And you took, I mean, it's like you became an encyclopedia of the business wisdom that he was teaching. And it's funny, you've invested over almost $200,000 into your business, into yourself, into your skills and personal development. And you gathered a majority of that for free from him, but you went deep, way deeper. I mean, I look at his videos and there are millions of views on it. And yet not all of those people have produced the results because they're watching that video and then they're jumping off and watching Bigger Pockets. And then they're jumping off of that and they're watching Thatch Win. And then they're watching all the other people. They're watching everybody gathering. Gathering for what? Put it to use. Put it to use.
Damn. Dude, this is so good. And it's, guys, here's another thing. I literally did this. I was in a mastermind that I was paying 50 grand a year for. It's about 25 grand every 6 months. Great mastermind. And there was a time in my life where I needed it. There was a time in my life where that helped me scale. And then eventually it got to a point where I realized that I just needed one voice, and that voice to grow for myself was the Alex Hormozi voice. And fun fact, I've literally never paid that man $1 outside of his books. Like, I've not met him. I hope to, and we're actually gonna be doing some really cool stuff, I think, very, very soon here with him, and his team, I should say. But here's a very interesting thing. You need to pick a voice. And what was weird to a lot of people at the time is I started being very vocal about this in my inner circles. I was paying 50 grand a year to be in this room, 25K every 6 months. And I literally told the person who I was paying 25 grand to, hey, I'm going to drop off. Love you. You're amazing. I don't need your voice now. I need a voice in my head, and it's Alex Hormozi's, and I'm also going to pay nothing for it. And they're like, well, it's free. You're just going to consume free content, and you're not going to, you don't have the one-on-one, the hand holding this, that, and the other. It's not worth it as much as the 25K is. And I'm like, let's find out. I'm telling you guys right now, I don't give a shit what anyone says. That dude's free content, you can build a $1 million plus business on it from his free content. And I've done so. It's actually interesting. I literally started, Marlon knows about it. I've started a business 1.5 years ago. And from scratch with no money, no development, no outside investors, none of that stuff, never utilize social media, just business in a box behind closed doors type stuff. And all we did is religiously followed principles that he was teaching for free online. Massive growth. And I'm not saying that you can't have the same growth with listening to insert whoever the hell you want to insert, but pick one.
Yep.
Pick one. And here's my other thing, guys. I've paid for a lot of mentors. A lot of you guys who feel very strongly about your mentors, I love you. If you've only paid for one mentor, you don't know shit, in my opinion, about what's out there in the world. I've paid for mentors across the board who, like, really expensive people. And I realize everyone has a different style. Everyone makes money different ways. Everyone has different approaches. I've paid multiple mentors for basically the exact same end result, like growing, let's say, a wholesaling business or a real estate portfolio. And I realize they go about things totally different ways, right? Pace Morby will teach you how to buy real estate. Kent Clothier will probably also teach you how to buy real estate. Very different approaches, very different results, very different avatar in the room, right? And so here's the reality. I want everyone to also understand, if you are going to pay a mentor, to learn from them and to see how to grow from their teachings. You should also be very real with yourself and asking, how do they make their money? This is a very real thing in the world of coaching, because I've been in so many, and I've helped a lot of these coaches just by being an affiliate and things like that. And here's the interesting thing, guys. There are influencers who are great at something, but they make all of their money from social media. So when you go and pay them to learn real estate, all you're going to do is be swayed into being a social media content creator. And then you're going to wonder after a year, well, shit, why don't I have more units? Why is my net worth not grown? Well, it's because you went to an influencer, a social media influencer, to learn how to do real estate. Doesn't work, right? Why did I go to Alex Hormozi and turn off every voice in my head, even the ones that I was paying tons of money for and getting good results with? Because I needed someone who'd actually built businesses, scaled them, and exited them, and I can prove that. And it allowed me to really live in it. And the cool thing is, what he was teaching me is also exactly what he had just done.
And doing.
and doing. So if you're going to pick a room, cool. Pick an influencer. Cool. Have that one person. And here's the thing, guys. I mean no negativity by this. It's just the realest thing out there. If you go to an influencer to learn how to grow a business and they make all of their money from being an influencer, don't be surprised if all you come out of it is learning how to be an influencer. That's okay. It actually is okay. Just don't delude yourself into thinking you're going to get something you're not. That is my biggest gripe, is when people say, I'm going here to learn this, this, and this. and then they come out of it learning all these other things. And then I'm like, yeah, that guy's a pro at insert X, social media, content, whatever, media machine, blah, 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 blah. Or it's like going to Alex Hormozy to learn how to become an amazing influencer. It's like, or a social media, like a typical social media influencer. He's not really as good as people might think he is at being an influencer. The reason why his content's so good is because he's just done the damn shit. And so it's really important, guys, for 2025, in my opinion, pick one strategy, one topic, one thing, and go all in on it. And for those of you who are like, well, I'm in a room and I'm in a community, I'm in an ecosystem where there's all of these things, and I know someone making money in lending and EMD and development and hotels and blah, 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 blah. Cool. I'll be real here with you. Marlon, do you know a single person, truthfully, who hasn't been in the industry for 10, 15, 20 years, who isn't worth hundreds of millions? Can you point at someone that you know who is making $1 million in lending and then $1 million in wholesale and then $1 million in flipping and then $1 million in development, and they also have boutique hotels, they have multifamily? Can you point at anyone?
Not a single one. You know, like, I mean, like I do, you know what? There is that one person who did start their wholesale business and they traded crypto and they also became an NBA basketball player and they raised the family. Oh, wait, no, that person doesn't exist.
Well, I think they're good at Forex now too, right?
Right. Like guys, like that person, none of you can name that person because that person doesn't exist. And even like Anthony, you said pace. It's not. Right? Like what's interesting is listen to what Sam said, who isn't currently worth or making over $100 million. See, what happens is we get so caught up in watching what they're doing right now on chapter 47, but you're not paying attention to what they did. In fact, Pace was the one that gave me this advice because Sam mentions like Sam and I have a really good relationship with Pace. We've been able to sit down with him in private, and we've also been able to watch this growth from what seems like the beginning. Even the reality is we weren't there for the beginning because the beginning was a few years before we even showed up in his life. And he said to me one night at dinner, he said, if you want to become known for many things, become known for one. Become known for just one thing. That's going to open the doors. And I told you guys 2 weeks ago the story. Go back and watch the episode we did 2 weeks ago where I talk about Alex Rodriguez. And you guys, if you think of Alex Rodriguez, throw it in the chat. What do you know Alex Rodriguez for? What is he most notable for? Why do you know the name A-Rod? Right? There's only one reason you know Alex is because he's the Yankee player, one of the best Yankees to ever live and to play the game. And yet Alex Rodriguez, right? Alexa says baseball. Alex Rodriguez, he owns, what is it, like 40,000 units, something like that? He is a savvy business owner, a savvy entrepreneur. And he had an audience with Warren Buffett, and Warren Buffett listened to him talk about his business and talk to him about his real estate. And Warren at the end of it said, listen, do you know why you're in this room with me? It's not because you own some properties and you've done some deals here and you've done some deals over there. You're here with me because you are number one at baseball. You are the best baseball player alive because you focused on one thing for all these years. And that presented you with this opportunity. You being the best baseball player presented you with your business opportunities. You being the best baseball player presented you with your partnerships and your private money and your lenders. If you want to have all the things, become world class in 2025 at the one thing that actually matters. I can't tell you what that is, but that's going to be up to you to decide. Keyword one. Pick one thing. If you even attempt to tell me the 5 things you're working on, you can end the conversation, delete my number, and unfollow me on Instagram. Don't. I don't want to hear the 5 things you're working on. I want to hear the one thing, period.
It's it. And for anyone, guys, there's a lot of our people in chat aren't like brand new people. Y'all have been, I think we attract people we should probably start attracting more newbies. We should probably do some more newbie content, but a lot of people who are here have been in the industry for years. Okay. And I'm going to be very real here with you guys. Anthony
wait, A-Rod's actually dating J-Lo? Is he? I didn't know that. Is A-Rod married to J-Lo?
That was not right now, but that was like a thing for a long time. Yeah, dude. Okay, there you go. She was like, A-Rod, Ben Affleck, A-Rod, Ben Affleck, A-Rod, Ben Affleck, Mark Anthony. Yeah. Here's the thing, guys. If you've been in the industry for a couple of years now, okay, I want you to be really real here with yourself. How many strategies have you tried? Some of you have tried wholesale, and then you've tried lending, and then you tried boutique hotels, and now you're doing workshops. Now you've got all the things. And I could almost guarantee that not a single one of them turned into $1 million a year business, like a legitimate, true business. If that's the case, and you can be very real with yourself and just admit that, beautiful. You can admit that it doesn't work. It might work for you later, 10 years later, when you've built the freaking empire. But let's just be real that if it didn't work for you in the last year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years that you've been trying to do this, cool. Doing multiple things isn't going to work. Let's just try in 2025. Just try one thing. And it's so funny, dude. Me and my business partner, we sit down and we're like, oh my God, we could do so much. The amount of information that we have in one of our businesses is obscene. I could roll out any company I want in the real estate space. It's actually insane, especially from our wholesale business. Oh my God. I could launch anything I want and probably take it to 7 figures, but we keep asking ourselves every time a new thing comes up and we tell ourselves, oh, here's all the reasons why it would work. We then sit down and ask ourselves, cool, if we were sitting in front of Alex Hormozi or Kent Clothier, these guys who were effectively billionaires, if we were to sit in front of them or Warren Buffett or the greatest minds of all time in business, and we said, here's what we're doing, here's what's working, and here's this other thing that we think we can do, we can crush because we know how and we're the best in the world and this, that, and the other. Usually we know what's going to happen. They're going to be like, you're an idiot. You don't know all the things that you actually think you know. You have something that's working, shut everything else off and just roll with that more. And very often when a new strategy or an idea comes up, we lie to ourselves by thinking that we are the shit and that we can do it and no one, and like we're perfectly positioned. Like, yeah, I'm super skilled and yeah, I can totally make this work. And yeah, I've got all the information and all the resources and all the hookups and all the connections and I can do all the things to make it work. And you delude yourself into thinking that you are better at something than you really are. And so full transparency, Marlon knows this and we're absolutely running up on time. I didn't realize. Guys, I know what it's going to take for us to hit the number that we want to hit in 12 months. And it's not by starting more businesses. It's actually by turning off businesses. It's not by joining more masterminds. It's actually by turning it off. It's actually by probably deleting every Instagram, like everyone I follow on Instagram except for Marlon. Like that's really it. And what we keep doing is when we set these goals, here's what Marlon, I think you've seen this with some of your coaching students probably. When we set goals, we start finding things that we need to go and get. We need to go bring things into our lives to get to this, right? I want to hit 5 million. I'm going to need this, that, and the other. I need to go and start a lending business. I got to go start this. I got to go start that, blah, 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 blah. You want to bring more into your life. I promise you, if you've already been in the industry for a year or two, at least a year or two, the goal for you guys, truthfully, attaining that goal is not by bringing more stuff in. It's by removing stuff.
Dude, I'm laughing because I spent an hour yesterday talking to my community. I did a Zoom, the last Zoom of 2024 for my community, and that was the conversation. For an hour, I challenged everybody to adopt the addition by subtraction. Then in 2025, the challenge is going to be letting go. And what's funny is when I challenge people to let go, you just mentioned even social media, like one simple area to simply unfollow a person on social media, unfollow people on social media, something that doesn't cost you anything, something that's not going to necessarily, right? Like nothing's going to break if I click the unfollow button on somebody. And yet the thought of it starts to cause people emotional unrest. They start to get really uncomfortable and this anxiety, right? You mentioned FOMO earlier, and that's one of the criteria. If someone has FOMO and they can be affected by FOMO, you're kicking them out of your life temporarily during this season that you're focused and concentrated. Well, FOMO is really, it's emotional neglect. It's you not being emotionally disciplined. And the reality is, if I can control your emotions, if anybody can control your emotions, they can effectively control you because your emotions trigger everything else. Everything else stems from human emotion. And so if you're not going to be in charge of your human emotion, your own emotion, best believe somebody else is looking to take control of it. And that's why you know, what's so funny, Sam, while you're talking and you're dropping gems, I was thinking to myself, why don't people already know this though? Like, why? Like, because to you and I, this is so obvious. You and I have these conversations. And the reality is, I think a lot of people don't, because they don't take control of their own emotional state, they don't take their own discipline into their own personal hands. They don't understand what it means to control a person themselves. When you learn how to control yourself, you effectively learn how to also control others. You learn how to influence and manipulate others. Whether you do it for good, bad, or indifferent is another conversation. But guys, I want you, because the people I see in here that recognize this and they're like, oh yeah, like Alexis Morgan, she's been dropping some comments tonight, and she's someone that she's like, yeah, I get this. You had her post up earlier where you said that if the event is geared towards newbies, it's detrimental to people of a high level, because Alexis understands this. She took control of her emotional state. She's in control of how she responds to life. Therefore, she recognizes when someone else is trying to manipulate her control. You all in 2025, you're going to need that emotional control in your life. You need to practice that. And the best way to do it, I don't know how to do it in, like, if I'm teaching a person to swim, I'm not going to throw them out into a tsunami. I'm not going to throw them out into the worst storm in the ocean, which is what a lot of you are trying to do. You're trying to gain control in a room full of 1,000 other people who are not in control, and there's somebody just clicking the wave button. Instead, you've got to isolate. You've got to pull back. You've got to be okay sitting alone, removing all the distractions and being left with nothing but yourself and the thing you said yes to. It's inevitable that you will begin to take control of yourself, because there will be nothing else for you to do. It's inevitable that you will begin to start to work if you remove every other option. So I love this, man. Dude, we got to have Sam go off more often, bro.
I only go off when people piss me off and say dumb things to me. So as long as people keep doing that, I'll go. Last thing, I want to hit on this, Birdie. I don't know if you're in the room right now, but I'm going to give you a tip that I think is a hard principle to follow. But knowing you and knowing where you're at in your life, roughly, I would say follow this one tip truthfully, because you're someone who's very active in, I think, several communities or multiple communities. If you've been in the industry like Birdie or like Alexis, who's amazing, this is perfect.
I freaking love Alexis, dude.
Dude. Alexis is, guys, oh my God, Alexis is amazing to watch her journey. Here's the thing, guys. I want you to, this is big for me. Filters. I joined a mastermind where the average, you minimum had to make $1 million a year. I literally had to send like bank statements showing the money that I make. And $1 million to like 15 million a year. That was the filter. That is a legitimate filter. You know what ends up happening in a room like that? Not a single freaking person talks about how to hire, how to fire, how to this, that, or the other, how to get the next deal, how to start a new campaign. None of that. They were all answering questions that, whether or not like I felt already knew, is irrelevant. There were people at my level solving the same problem that I'm solving. And so for people like Birdie, I want you, and this is my big thing, I will not go to a room or a conference that is open to the public where the only barrier to entry is having a MasterCard or a Visa that swipes. To me, $10,000, 15, 20, 30, 100K, not a filter. Not a filter. I don't care about that, because anyone can come in from another industry and have some money and swipe a credit card and swipe for 100K and get into a room. That's not what I care about. For me to grow, I need to be around people who, at the very least, in my opinion, are more experienced than me. And so when I'm pitched all these rooms and blah, 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 where like, if I can just go to someone's link from their public social media and go buy a ticket, guess what? That means anyone else can. And if anyone else can, you know what's going to happen? You're going to be in a room full of hundreds of people, thousands of people, this, that, and the other, who have accomplished effectively not very much. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're in a different season of their entrepreneurial journey than I am. And so if you're like Alexis, if you're like Birdie, if you're like these people who've been in the industry for at least a few years and their goal is to get to the next level and be a multi seven figure a year earner, then stop going to rooms where everyone isn't a multi seven figure earner. And what's really cool about those rooms, bro, is that they don't have time to waste. They don't want to hang out all day. They just want to learn what they got to learn, answer the very specific question to solve a very specific constraint in their business, and they get back to work and they go make a shit ton of money. And what ends up happening is by default, you will grow. If you feel like you've been in the industry for a long time and you haven't been growing, I can almost guarantee I'm going to be very real here. You are the problem because we should all take ownership, but your influence is also the problem. And the fact that you haven't checked your influences is the reason why you're not making as much money or growing as much as you want. It's just the blatant truth. And so in 2025, I will be traveling. I will be in masterminds. I'm going to go hang out and like be a student in a room. But my biggest filter is unless I have to show someone bank statements to even qualify to send you money first, unless that is the prerequisite, I don't want to be in the room because that means you could have just sold the ticket to any random dude off the street. And then when they're there, you have to also cater to them. And when you're catering to someone who's in season 1 and I'm in season 5, I can't get the care that I need. It is a true fact. And so understand the rooms that you're entering, whatever they need to be. And we always say this, we've said this a lot. You will never outgrow your need for community because you're a human being, but you will outgrow community. It is such an important thing to understand that. So guys, focus is the answer. It is the only freaking answer, and only have, in my opinion, one voice in your head. And if you want to be in a mastermind, if you want to have people around you who are honest to God hard asses. I don't like being around, like I love Logan because Logan will call me out on my shit all day. Logan is very unencouraging as a human being. He is a very unencouraging human being. I actually get nervous when I go and hang out with Logan because I know I'm going to be met with, well, you should be a lot further. You're just not disciplined enough. But I need that. I don't want to be in rooms where everyone just kind of blows smoke at each other, blows smoke at each other, whatever. I don't want to be in those rooms because everyone there doesn't grow enough. So harsh truths, very harsh truths, but I think very needed for everyone like me and Marlon who are in elevated seasons. Growth it's yours, but you have to be able to say no 100%. Alexis, by the way, since you're here, super freaking proud of you.
Crushing it. Yo, guys, if you were watching this, I should have said this at the beginning. I hope you had a pen and paper. Hope you were taking notes, whether it's on your iPad, whether it's on your cell phone, that you weren't just listening. Because what I want you to do, I want you to share your number one takeaway. This is something that Sam and I got into the practice of doing actually about 2 years ago at an event in Miami. We realized before we went to that event, Sam, I want to share this quick story and then we'll bounce out of here, is on the drive out to that event, we had a conversation in the car and we said, before we get in there this weekend, what is your intention? Why are you going? What is it that you're looking for? Because we wanted to know once we found it, when we can exit the room, when we can leave. Because we know it's so easy to get caught up taking 40, 50, 70 things away, but executing on none of them. So we were very intentional about looking for the one thing that we were going to execute on when we left. And so as you guys listen to us tonight, as you listen to us in 2025, because best believe the Think Big podcast is going to continue and not miss a single episode all throughout 2025. I'm calling it right now. We want you to show up with the mindset that I'm here to pull and take away just one thing that I can execute on, one thing that I can focus on. And sometimes it's going to be the same thing because you're still executing, because execution doesn't finish in a week. It doesn't finish in a night. It doesn't finish in a day. That's going to require 9 months. But I want every single time that you leave here for you to share, drop it in the comments. I personally go back and I read the comments. I love when I see the comments after these episodes drop. I love when you guys share it on Instagram. So I want to know what it is that you're focusing on, what your takeaway was from tonight. What stood out to you? What is the one thing that you're going to be able to say, this is what this episode meant to me? Someone else might get something different, but what did it mean to you? So, Sam, do we have some questions right there? Should we answer some questions before we bounce out of here?
I think Sean just was writing that he's a phenomenal note taker.
Oh, beautiful. Sean's taking some. I just saw a question mark there. All right, guys. So we're wrapping it up. For Happy New Year. Also, Happy New Year. We got a few hours before the ball drops. I don't know if people are actually watching that. I'm probably not. I'm probably going to go to bed because it's just another Tuesday in my mind. However, if you are going to celebrate, enjoy the celebration. Really take time to hone in and make a commitment to yourself. 2025, you are focused. You are disciplined. You are going to show up. And you know what, Sam, I got to say one last thing because I was listening. Funny enough, I finally got a chance to sit down and listen and take in some information and take in some content. I was listening to Alex Hormozi, and he said something that I really liked. He said that doing and being are one and the same. That when you look at the person that you want to be in 2025, how do we describe a person? We describe them based on the actions they take. I want you guys to identify not the actions you want to take, but identify the actions that are necessary and commit to that. So if you got value from tonight, make sure that if you're here on my page, if you're here on my YouTube, I need you to go over to Sam Sings YouTube and make sure you subscribe to Sam. Make sure you hit a thumbs up, leave your comment from the most valuable thing you got tonight, and tag us on social media. Tag us on Instagram. I want to see how many people were paying attention tonight. Freaking love you guys. We'll be back next week for episode 115 of the Think Big podcast. Sam, Happy New Year, bro.